punching in post. Welcome to the first remote episode of Someone in My Subaru. We're very obviously not in the Subaru. We're actually in a cottage in the middle of...
This isn't a Subaru?
Temiskaming, out in buttfuck nowhere, Quebec. We're in a cottage for the July 1st, July 4th weekend, which has been pretty nice. Today's guest is my friend, a good friend. I've known him for a while. Very creative guy, very interesting guy to talk to. Aaron Thadathil. Thadathil?
Bonjour.
Why don't you
Thadathil.
introduce yourself the way that you would like to be introduced to the camera?
I mean, you can call me Without.Vision.
Ooh.
On Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, TikTok, anywhere you stream music, check that out. Without.Vision. But yeah, I mean, I'm a creative. I'm a graphic designer, UI designer, UI UX by day, music producer by night, house music, lo-fi beats, run the gambit.
So we kind of have an interesting situation where the two people that have been on the show so far have been musical types, but very different kind of genres of music, where my last guest specifically is a lot more jungle and D&B focused. You're kind of a lot more, I don't want to say normal music. But like less
palatable.
You seem less niche.
It's a palatable genre. I mean, house beat, everybody loves 4 on the floor kicks. You know what I mean? Like that clean house beat. Mm-hmm. A lot of pop music, a lot of top 40 is riffing off house music. Right? So disco, you know what I mean? Like it's all funky, it's all very danceable, very likable. So yeah, you could say it's more palatable, perhaps.
Okay. Now, what got you into doing music? Because you had a very interesting childhood, which I don't know if you want to get into here or not. But
I could. I definitely could.
We could start from there as well. I'm going to let you tell your story. So, what kind of pointed you in the direction of musical production? Because you are a very musical oriented guy. We've been at this cottage for a couple days. You brought your ukulele. You're able to pick up notes by just listening to them, going like, "Oh, I think this is a G sharp sus7," and just bring and just play that. And I'm sitting there going like, "I don't know, it's a high pitch." Like as far as like my musical ability and yours.
So when I was a kid, I did take piano lessons. My parents put me in piano lessons from like 6 years old. So I learned piano, I learned musical theory, and I learned, the chords, the scales, arpeggios, etc. And I did classical music. I was in the Royal Conservatory up until I was like, I want to say 16 or 17. And I didn't actually finish the Royal Conservatory like classical music course.
Right.
Where you have to do an exam at the end. You do a written examination, and then there's a dock spider over there.
Oh, damn.
That's a big boy. Y'all can't see it on camera, but trust me, it is apparently the largest fucking spider in Canada.
I'll put a picture in. I try to take a picture of these things.
In the edit.
Fucking ginormous.
It's massive. And it's literally crawling on the dock.
It's just chilling.
I am also barefoot right now, so I gotta be careful. My toes.
They've avoided us so far, though. They haven't, like,
that
no
screenshot's going to be on the internet forever now.
Exactly,
My foot is now on the internet.
That's the thumbnail.
My foot is on the internet for free, so you're welcome. If there's any interest, I can start an OnlyFans. You guys let me know.
But and we'll get to OnlyFans in a minute, but so you're actually, because I never actually knew that about you, that you're Royal Conservatory. Like, I knew that you took piano lessons, but I thought that was a lot more kind of, not self-taught
Royal Conservatory, no. Well, that's the thing. I had this Italian piano teacher. He came to my house. He would come into the basement. Which sounds terrifying. Yeah, don't worry. It was all very clean and good.
Okay.
He was a great guy, Sal, and he taught me piano. And it was awesome. Royal Conservatory, did classical music, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of improvisation as well, but mostly it was classical. I didn't like classical music. My parents wanted me to do it because they wanted me to learn the instrument.
Of course, yeah.
But once I hit my mid-teens, I was like, well, I don't need to be in lessons anymore. I can play the instrument. Yeah. My parents could see that, and they were like, okay, fine. That's fine. So I quit, and I didn't actually finish the examination and shit, but I did start teaching.
Do you regret that at all? Not finishing the conservatorship?
I don't think it really matters.
Do you get like a little plaque or something?
You get like a certificate or whatever, and it's like, who really cares?
But you have like the knowledge of knowing like you could have passed had you taken the exam.
Like my opinion on education when it comes to art, like when it comes to music or art, is that you don't really need it. If you can do the shit, who cares what your training was?
Yes.
You know what I mean? If your shit sounds good or looks good or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what your training is. There's so many self-taught musicians that have had zero musical theory training, and they're incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's why I didn't really care at that point. I had enough theory that I was comfortable with the instruments.
But you even like to the point where you were comfortable teaching other people how to play
Exactly.
piano
Yeah,
too.
well, little kids, right? So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I was in high school, I taught a little kid. He was like 7 or whatever.
Okay.
And yeah, I was like teaching him the piano, simple like Mary Had a Little Lamb, you know, basic scales and stuff. And yeah, it was great. It was that was like my job until I had actually gotten the job at Bell Media as a designer.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So you've
Yeah.
never had like shit retail work?
No, I literally went from piano. That's what I was telling Kayla the other
Yeah.
day. It was like I had never worked retail, and people say, "Oh, fuck you! You never worked retail. You have no, you know, you have no compassion." It's like, no, bro, don't worry. I understand. My dad had a restaurant. Like he ran a restaurant.
Yeah.
I understand all about customer service and like how shitty people are treated. Don't worry about that at all. However, I personally have never worked retail because I went from piano teaching to the Bell Media job,
Right.
doing UI work.
Yeah.
And I had
So,
done that.
so when you were in university, were you still teaching piano or
No, I was actually working at Bell Media while I went to
Really?
university.
Oh
yeah.
shit.
So
why go to university?
that's the thing, right? I didn't even really need to. I already had the job. Like when everyone was doing the third-year internship,
Yeah.
I went to my boss and I was like, "Can you just sign the internship papers here? Because like, I need to have this thing." He's like, "You're not in an internship. You're an employee." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's fine. Whatever. Just sign it and say that I've done it." He's like, "Yeah, sure. 'Cause you need it for the credit, right?"
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I didn't really need that education, but like,
Right.
I'm glad I did it anyways
Yeah.
because I met a lot of people. You know, it's like a,
Yeah, and you network. Plus, it helps you build out your portfolio in a specific
Exactly.
way. I find, for me, one of the advantage of going to school, especially in the arts, and like you said earlier, as long as you know your stuff, I feel like most people in an arts profession,
Yeah.
it's more about what you can do versus like what you've, like the background, educational background. If I
Exactly.
show up to someone, like say I apply to Bell Media, I'm like, hey, here's my portfolio. I don't give a fuck if I
They
dropped
don't
out of
care what
university or
you're.
not.
Yeah,
exactly. But I think that being able to build a portfolio structured, I think there's a value in that, having assignments, because if left to your own devices, are you going to just design banner ads? I'm going to make fake
That's the
banner
thing.
ads for commercials. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I feel like so much of that work is so boring and mundane that you're not going to go out of your way and design it. And you might have like a passion project where you might wake up one day and decide, oh, I wonder if I can redo movie posters better than the guys that did the
Yeah.
movie posters.
Yeah.
You might do that for fun, and that's kind of cool, but you need that inspiration to do it. Whereas if you have
Yeah.
a teacher telling you, here's your homework, do this.
It's something.
Plus the
Exactly.
networks. Like the amount of people that you've met throughout going to university,
Yeah.
they're all like-minded individuals for the most
Exactly.
part. You get those connections going forward. And I feel
Like I was,
that's-
and we can get into my background, but like
Yeah.
for me personally, university was really important because I had to build a friend circle that was beyond what I grew up with. Because
So why don't, if you're comfortable with it, why don't we get into your background? A little?
yeah,
Why
so
don't we get into-
yeah, totally. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Everyone's like, "Oh shit, that dude knocking on the doors." Yeah, bro. Like I was literally Saturday morning in a suit and tie, knocking on doors with the Bible in hand, Watchtower and Awake magazines, and I was like, "Good morning, we're Jehovah's Witnesses at your door." Like, you know, I had
Yeah.
the whole spiel.
What was your spiel?
I can't even remember now because it's like been
Let's
so long.
let's try it. So,
But you're
so
a person.
I'm the
door.
person. I'm the person
You're a person
at the door.
So
So
I'm
you
just
knock. Hello.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm all right.
I honestly can't even fucking do it, dude. This is how unreligious. I'm also high as fuck, FYI. Would not have been high at the door. Like,
Well, now I can't run ads on
this is
video.
the thing. I legitimately, it was like they would indoctrinate you because you would go every Tuesday and every Sunday to the meetings,
Right.
and they would teach you what to say, and you would just repeat, and you know, you put your hands up in the meeting. They pick you, and they're like, Aaron, and then you get a microphone and you
Yeah.
say it. Like they practice it in the meetings.
Really?
Yeah, it's a whole thing. They do little skits and they do what we were trying to do, but I failed
Yeah.
at.
yeah. Would you
literally,
would you get punished if you fucked up or something like that?
No, they wouldn't punish you. It was honestly really pleasant. Like everybody
Really?
was nice.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't shitty at all. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to shit on them because they're nice people.
Other than all the other shittiness about it.
the actual religion is shit. The
Right.
people themselves are just people.
Mhm.
They're victims of the same mindset. Either they were raised in it or they converted into it
Yeah.
because of a poor lifestyle or whatever.
Mhm.
A shitty upbringing, and they were like, "Fuck, I need something to look towards, right?
Right.
For hope."
So you were a Jehovah's Witness.
So I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and because when you leave that religion, it's a cult. I mean, when you leave it, they have to shun you. It's called disfellowshipping. When you disobey.
Disfellowshipping.
Yeah, when you
Right.
when you disobey the religion's rules, you get disfellowshipped.
Right.
I've never actually been disfellowshipped. I just kind of disappeared.
Is there an official process to disfellowship
yes.
someone? Oh, really?
They have like these things called publisher cards, which
Yeah.
are like these cards that have all your information, where you live, who you are, and all that shit.
Yeah.
And they kind of keep track of them.
Mhm.
And then when you get disfellowshipped, they like remove the card. They like stamp it, and they're like, "You're
Oh, shit.
disfellowshipped." Yeah.
Damn.
and everybody's supposed to shun you. Like your parents, your family, it doesn't matter who it is, your brothers, sisters, whatever. Your friends that you grew up with, they're not supposed to talk to you anymore. It's like not even pick up the phone. You can't text them.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have them on social media. Cut off all contact.
Right.
And the reason they do that is because they don't want people who have dissented to bring rhetoric that's like against their religion to bring other people out.
Right.
So they scare them and say, hey, these people are apostates and they, they're Satan's little messengers that are trying to pull you away from God.
Yeah.
That's how they keep people in.
Right.
It's like if you went to a car dealership and you went to like a Honda fucking dealership and they were like, don't ever look up anything about Hondas on the internet. Don't ever ask another person who's ever owned a Honda about Hondas. Just listen to what we say in this brochure.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that's cool. Your brochure's going to say they're great. I'm sure they're great.
Yeah.
But like, can I also get a second opinion? And they're like, no. Yeah. You're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And
if you get a second opinion, you can't buy a Honda.
You can't buy a Honda anymore. Yeah. Exactly. And that's how it is, where it's like, you're not allowed to look for other sources of information. You're not allowed to Google. They literally say, like, don't Google us because Satan is poisoning the minds of the people on the internet. You know what I mean? And,
really?
And putting out all this false information. So you'd be scared. So I remember being in university first year. And, throughout my life, I always had doubts about stuff. Like, I like gay people. I saw people at school that were gay, and I was like, what's wrong with them? Yeah. Or whatever. There was just anything. I was super Christian, right? So when I ended up in first year university, I ended up on Reddit, and I stumbled across this ex-JW subreddit. And it was like ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, people that had left. And, like, when I first got there, I was terrified. Yeah. Because you're instilled with this fear.
Literally, it's like Satan's subreddit.
Yeah, you should not be reading people's thoughts that have left this religion. Like, that is the worst thing you could be doing right now. Yeah. And, of course, my curiosity got the better of me, and I was reading it, and I was like, my eyes were completely opened after, like, a few months. I was like, holy shit, this is completely fake. And at some point, I realized, okay, the religion is false, and I thought, okay, the Bible is real, and I still love Jesus and all this shit. But then even like a couple months later, I was reading fucking Richard Dawkins, and I was like, fuck Jesus. Like, I fuck all this shit. And then you know what will make you not believe in the Bible is just read the Bible. Without anybody's interpretations. Don't rely on anyone's interpretation. Just read it as if it was a novel. Yeah. And you're going to be like, what the fuck is this? There's some messed up shit here. Lot and his daughters. Yeah. His daughters fuck him in a cave. And this is cool. And he's blessed by God. It's like, all right, I guess this is fine. Incest? Sure. You know what I mean? It's like, they don't give a fuck. It's like, there's a lot. I mean, I'm not trying to shatter anyone's faith. I'm just talking about my own, my own experience with it. But anyways, like, the reason why university was so important for me is because that friend group that I was making there would be people that wouldn't care what my belief was. Right. Whether I believed in some religion or not, because they were just regular people. Yeah. Whereas the people I grew up with, I knew they would be shunning me. And they still shun me to this day. Like, I know them. I know where they are. But
you never got, like, officially...
I never got officially disfellowshipped. What I did was I moved out of my parents' house as soon as I could, as soon as I graduated university. And I disappeared. I just kind of, like, fell off the radar. And they stopped checking up on me. And then I eventually went and told my parents that, hey, listen, like, I don't believe this anymore. My mom was devastated. She was crying for hours. And she was like, I've lost my son. He's dead to me now. I can't talk to him anymore. And this was like like that for years, where they didn't speak to me, and I was completely cut off contact from them. But over time, I continued. I never stopped, like, reaching out to them and showing love and kindness and just being a regular person. And I'm their only son, so it's like, whatever. There's nobody else really for them. Yeah. And eventually, over time, they started opening up. And they're at a point now where it's like they don't even believe it themselves. Shit. Like my dad used to be an elder in this thing, and he stepped down. And he's like, no, I'm not one anymore.
So how does that work then? If you're an elder and you step down from that position itself, is that viewed as like, oh shit, he's pulling away, we gotta up the pressure on this guy?
So here's the thing, it's like, these people all know me, like, because I grew up there, and they all know my family. So, like, they know, they have a suspicion that, like, hey, this guy moved away to the city. He's off the radar. Yeah. They have an idea that he's probably, not following the religion.
So but they haven't just taken it upon themselves then to dismember you? Like, if your friends from there know this.
The pandemic has completely separated my parents from this. Once I moved out, it doesn't matter what I do, right? Like, my parents are their own in the congregation. Yeah. what I do on my own is I'm an adult. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And my new congregation at Christie in Toronto should be the ones that are like keeping an eye on me and
Right.
and judging me and fixing me and all that
Right,
shit.
right, right, right,
But
right.
I never went there to give them my card.
So they don't know that you're actually
They don't
there.
know I exist.
Ah.
I just disappeared. I went off
Yeah.
the map, right? That's
Right.
what I did.
Do you have your card?
I don't know. Somebody fucking has it. I don't know.
Oh, but like it exists
It's
somewhere.
yeah.
Right,
I don't,
okay.
It doesn't really matter. They don't care about it now, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
what-
you just kind of fell through the cracks.
Exactly. And that's what this is. I got the idea from the Reddit because there's this thing called fading, and that's what they do. There's a strategy. It's called fading, and you slowly pull away,
Right.
and then you move away somewhere,
Yeah.
and don't tell anyone where you're going,
Yeah.
and then you just disappear from their records, and then nobody contacts you, and you're fine,
Huh.
and you're good.
Yeah.
And it's like a loophole because you're not disfellowshipped, so technically people can still talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, if they believe in it.
Mhm.
But the thing is that people are pretty strict with it, and they realize that people aren't stupid. They're like, "Oh, you disappeared. You probably don't believe in it." So my friends and stuff that I grew up with don't talk to me.
Mhm.
My parents, however, they opened up, man. They just completely changed. They did a complete, a 180, and they went the other way.
Was there a specific moment that made them do that, or was it just through time you kind of wore them down?
Yeah,
and
no, it
they
was-
just
yeah.
realized like this is stupid. It's our child. We should talk to him.
Exactly. It was literally just over time. There was not one single moment where they just switched.
Right.
It was just like, first I would text them, they wouldn't respond. You know, then you text and then they respond.
Mhm.
And then you call and then they respond.
Yeah.
And then you say, you know, can I come see you? Then they
Yeah.
say sure. And then, you know, you just slowly build into that, right? And then I wasn't confrontational, and I never like shut down their beliefs.
Right.
It's like I don't believe them, but I respect your right to believe what you wish to believe.
Right.
You know, and over time they just slowly opened up to it, and then you know, my mom first, and then my dad was like, yeah, this is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy because now they've even admitted to like faults in their parenting where they're like,
Oh
yeah,
shit.
like we fucked up, where it's like, you know, teaching you this religion and bringing you into it because
Yeah.
you know, we really, because my dad wasn't born in this. My dad converted to it when he married, like when he got with my mom.
Mhm.
So he was kind of feeling kind of shitty about it, where he was like, I brought you into this.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize kind of the damage that it would do.
Right.
But overall, I mean, it's fine. You know, people in my childhood, they're gone. But that university network that I had made, that's kind of like my new
Yeah.
group of people that I associate with.
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So you move to Toronto. You're going to university. You're musically trained and all this stuff.
Yeah.
At what point do you start going like, you know what? I kind of want to start messing around with beats, and I want to start messing around with like music production and all this stuff.
I was actually making music when I was deep in the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, really?
I was in high school when I started
Yeah,
making
yeah.
music. Yeah.
Like Jehovah music or like
No, I was just making beats.
shit?
Just like, you know, with the piano and the guitar and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's like I had friends in high school. I just never really hung out with them outside of school.
Mm.
But yeah, I made beats in high school. That's when I discovered like FL Studio, the
Yeah.
first, you know, playing around on the computer with it and kind of producing and stuff, and kind of taking the piano knowledge that I had
Yeah.
into the computer stuff, because
Yeah.
I had the MIDI keyboard as well, so I could play stuff and it would record.
Yeah.
Just looked up YouTube tutorials. You know what I mean? Like
How
you
to
can
how to do this? How to do
you
that,
can
yeah.
learn everything online now, which is amazing. And yeah, I was like 15.
Mhm.
There are still tracks on my SoundCloud that are from like 9 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, the one song that I made in high school that was like my lightning in a bottle that I never got that level of popularity. I did a remix of a Japanese J-pop song.
Okay.
The song is called Hello.
Mhm.
It's by a band called Capsule.
Yeah.
And I have a SoundCloud track that's up there. It's called Capsule Aaron Thadathil Remix. I didn't even have a cool name like Without.Vision or whatever at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I was just Aaron, which is my own name.
Yeah.
And that has like 80K plays, my guy.
Jeez, really?
That is the most, yeah.
Shit.
It still gets plays to this day.
Really?
Everything else has like 400 plays.
Yeah, yeah.
And for some reason, this remix, the algorithm picked it up.
Yeah, and
it's
just-
like your TikTok. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
It just, I don't know what the
Randomly,
fucking
it just
AI is
goes-
looking
yeah.
for, but it picks something up and then, you know, it throws it out into the ether and then people are listening to it.
Yeah.
So that's my one track. I mean, check it out if it's still out there. Link in the description.
Like yeah, like all
We
the
actually
all this
will link it, yeah.
sounds all the SoundCloud
Uh,
stuff's gonna be in the description here.
But, you know, it's interesting. I feel like remixes are kind of the way to
Kind of get in.
get in.
How do you then look? Because I know like when you're composing a song, you might have like a theme that you want to sing about or talk about. You have a beat in your head or kind of like a pattern in your
Yeah.
head, and you want to expand on that. When it comes to remixing a song, how do you go about remixing a song? You listen to let's say we were to remix Mr. Brightside or something like that. How would you go about that and go, why don't we do this? Right, because you're meshing genres together.
I would just listen to it.
Yeah.
And then I hear things in my head. Every time there's any sounds playing. Yeah. Even when people are talking, even when there's fucking sound effects and clinkings of glasses and shit. It's like that's all music. Yeah. So you're just always hearing that shit. So when you hear a song on Mr. Brightside, you're like, oh, what could be added to this? And in your head, you're just already like, you're adding different tracks, different percussion, whatever it is, right? But yeah, you got to pick a genre. You got to pick a direction. Yeah. Pick a mood, a vibe, if you will. I don't often pick a genre. I'll just pick like a feeling or a tempo. Right. Do I want this to be fast or slow? And then it just kind of organically becomes something. Right. I don't say, hey, I'm going to make a house track. Hey, I'm going to make a jungle track. That's why I don't understand, honestly, I don't understand people that are able to like create a brand, create a genre and like a sound, and they just stick to that sound. And people are, it's like it's their signature sound. And everyone knows, like, a Drake sound. Yeah. Drake, that's Drake. Yeah, track. Avicii, Benassi, like those guys have, like, an Avicii you're
song.
Like, that's exactly. But, like, for me, it's like I've always just been so all over the place where it's like I just want to just become something that's organic. That's probably my downfall, to be honest.
I was going to ask, do you think that's a bit of a stunt? 'Cause I know, and this is a horrible example, when it comes to sports, sometimes when you're one of those players that can play in a bunch of different positions, you end up like you're a good utility player
literally
to have,
that
but
idiom,
you never
right?
master
like
the one thing.
It's jack of all trades, master of none.
So do you feel that's kind of stunted your musical growth at all, or do you feel that it's making you more kind of mile wide, mile deep, that maybe you just haven't found that sound yet, and the more you experiment and the more you branch around?
There's a possibility that maybe I'll grow into some sort of like sound. But at the same time, I just enjoy doing it as a hobby. It's like, it's just how I release my tension. It's just how I kind of unwind.
Yeah. So musical guy, that was always kind of like the first passion, I guess, that you had. Was there anything else that you've ever been like, oh, music and this or this? Like, what would you say if...
I think visuals and music. That's pretty much it. Like, I used to paint stuff, and I used to always like fuck around on Photoshop. When I was like 10 or whatever. Yeah. It's funny. My introduction to design. I'm also a designer. My introduction to design was on a Pokemon forum. I was on Cerebi.net, and I was designing signature banners for people, like on their posts in the forum. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I can put your favorite Pokemon, and I can put your name. And I was doing them in like paint. Yeah. And then my dad, at his restaurant, had a regular customer that had given him a bootlegged version of Photoshop. Yeah. And my dad brought this bootleg Photoshop CD home, and it was like, hey, this dude gave me Photoshop, you want to try it? I was like, let's go. Right? And I was the most popular fucking signature maker for like...
The signature maker.
I was like, let's go. You want a Charizard signature? I got you.
I could make that fire sparkle now.
Yeah, literally. I was like, hey, I got a second layer, overlay. Layer style, overlay.
I can do even more now.
It's shiny.
It's shiny.
Contrast all the way up. Right? Like, you know what I mean? It would look like shit now. The aesthetic is absolute garbage. Yeah.
But it had that like quintessential Audis kind of...
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right. Does any of these banners still exist? Like, could someone go on a Cerebi and like look at old forum posts from back in the day?
A lot of them were hosted on PhotoBucket, and I think PhotoBucket went down.
Ah, shit.
Because Imgur and all that, came up and then completely took over. But PhotoBucket was an old photo sharing site before IG and all that shit. Yeah. I also used to post music and art on Newgrounds. Yep. Way before everything.
Back in the day.
I don't know how many of you remember Newgrounds, but Flash was like the king.
That was it for me. That was my introduction to the internet. Was like back in the day. Like, obviously, I was a kid, so I didn't really know what was going on. But I remember my introduction to Newgrounds was not even Flash cartoons. I found those cartoons afterwards. My friend was telling me about these dress-up games. So I might have been in grade 5
the
or
doll
grade 6.
games?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I was in grade 5 or 6. So this is probably like 2000 or like 2000. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's Buffy, but she's naked. You go to Newgrounds.com.
You can see these anime characters.
The boobies. It wasn't even the anime characters. It was like a Photoshop face of like Sarah Michelle Gellar's face Photoshopped on like a nude woman's body. And because you're a 6th grader, you don't know what the fucking difference is.
You're like, this is great.
But that was like the introduction to porn.
This is real.
The internet porn wasn't as ubiquitous when I was a kid. I missed...
Same. I remember.
I was a couple years like older and too young for that stuff.
I'm a little bit younger than you are, but I do remember.
And like for me, like the way you found like porn was you'd find it in a shopping bag in a forest. Right? Like that was how you found porn. Like when I was a kid.
Like a Playboy magazine.
Exactly. A Playboy magazine, a VHS tape, like and a tall can of beer, warm beer.
Exactly.
And you'd like walk into
some
a forest.
nude calendar. Yeah.
Exactly, and you'd see this, and you're like, "Oh, what are these?" And you're like, your body's doing, you're feeling things. You're like, "I don't know what this is making my body do." But Newgrounds introduced me to those dress-up games, and then through dicking around on the dress-up games, I saw a bunch of these like Dragon Ball Z parody cartoons, and then from those, I ended up finding creators that I was like, "Oh, this guy did a funny thing. What else has he done?" And then that exploded all that, and then for me, it went on to the Something Awful forums, and then on a 4chan.
Oh yeah. This man went right into the 4chan, the underbelly.
That was so like 2004.
You've probably seen some shit.
I've seen some shit, my guy. I kind of wish I was a Jehovah's Witness when I was a
right
youth instead of the shit that I've seen. But
I know I was such an innocent, sheltered boy for so long.
So does any part of you miss the church? Does any part of you miss being a Jehovah's Witness?
Not at all.
Nothing. Not the
I
sense
don't
of
give a
community, the people.
Nah,
Like,
because you know what? I find that elsewhere.
Yeah.
I thought at one point, hey, there's no real friendships out there. It's just, when you're in the same faith that you can have, the faith in God together, and that's what your strong foundation in your friendship.
Right.
But honestly, you don't need that. You don't need anything. That's just the fact that you're a human experiencing life with some other human is enough to make friends with them.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how I approach people, relationships and friendships and everything, where it's like, we're all just people.
No, that's awesome. So what are you working on right now? What do you want to wrap this up? What do you want to plug?
Well,
what's all your socials? What's all your projects? What do you got
Without
going
Vision,
on?
check out Without Vision. I just released a track on Spotify called Transit.
Ooh.
House track. Pretty chill vibe, like deep house.
Okay.
So if you're just into smoking weed and listening to deep house, instrumentals, that's the type of vibe. Without Vision on SoundCloud, Spotify, TikTok, it's all the same.
Without.Vision.
Without Vision, yeah, exactly.
The links, all that stuff will be in the description.
Instagram, all that shit.
Who? Any people you want to shout out? Any creators that you're kind of vibing with right now?
Yes.
Whether it's Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, producers that you're listening to.
100%. I mean, you gotta listen to Dealer, my boy Dealer, Velez. He's also got his house track up on Spotify. Accidentally, the whole thing.
Yep.
Good shit. Also, Sirens and Satyrs, Josh Tan. Good shit if you're into house music as well. Good buddy of mine. And Kelly. He does D&B. He was actually featured on BBC Radio 1.
Oh, shit.
A couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah. He was doing a remix. So check him out as well, Kelmo. He's probably the most well-known of my associates.
Right.
Yeah, check him out.
Awesome.